Right, a little bit late, sorry about that. Hello everyone, welcome to Tactica Imperialis and to another live stream. Hopefully the sound quality in particular has changed from our previous streams. I've set up my new desk in my office today, so I've been able to get out of such a large room, and hopefully that will help with the echo. It's a slightly smaller room, there's a bit of carpet. Granted, it's still very empty, but hopefully that will help a little bit with the echo. But either way, we are here, we are live, and we are going to be doing one of our now bi-weekly live streams, and we have a very specific plan for today. You may remember that on our stream on Wednesday, if you were there, we got on with a conversion project, looking at something hopefully a bit like this. So this was done as a Photoshop by Kaz, one of our viewers and someone who's contributed to some of the work on the channel. And they did a Photoshop of what I'm going for. It's a Sigmarite Dace converted into an altar of Khaine, is sort of what I'm going for. And we actually went about building the actual stuff on Wednesday's stream. And the plan for today is to actually paint the thing. So I got a fresh pot of Mechanica Standard Grey, I got a nice big brush, and we're going to have a go at starting to paint this little, well, big piece of terrain in order to start working on our Altar of Khaine. I also have to hand my Daughters of Khaine start collecting set, so we can also work on the Avatar of Khaine if we make sufficient progress. But we've got plenty to do, and since that we're doing this live, and this is going to be our stream project, as it were, over the next several streams, I am more than happy to take suggestions as we go along about possible conversion ideas or paint scheme suggestions as we go along. Though I do have a theme for my painting that I am going to try and stick to, and we'll talk about that as we go. So we've got a few people here already. I did advertise this stream was coming, and hopefully as we do this more and more, on the regular Friday streams, then we'll get a slightly larger crowd, which will be great. It's always good to have a nice big community of people to talk to. There's also the channel's Discord server, which I have not put a promo in yet, but hopefully if I get chance, or one of my mods gets chance to pop in, they will be able to provide a link to the channel Discord server if you're not in there, and that'll be valid for about 24 hours after this stream if you would like to join and get involved in all that we do. So we have a plan, but I'm going to hang on for a couple of minutes just to let people arrive. People want to have a chat about stuff. So yeah, ordered the special Noise Marine. Oh, the guitar one. Yeah. I thought that model was gone by now. I didn't think it was still around, but apparently it is still around. Did anyone see all the new Blood Bowl edition stuff? Yeah, I did notice that we're getting a new edition of Blood Bowl, though as someone who doesn't play Blood Bowl, it wasn't exactly top of my agenda to go and get it, but it is something that is very cool nonetheless, and it's always good to see the specialist games getting further support because, well, more variety means more fun, and variety is the spice of life after all. So what time are we? We are 25 to 7 here in the UK. And I'm ready to get started. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go. So, over here I've got my Sigmarite Dace. It's a little bit off camera because it's all in separate sub-assemblies. But you saw the rough idea of what we were going for. There's also a picture on the channel Twitter, link in the description. If you want to go and have a look at sort of the original layout of how I wanted to look. I'm going to have all the pillars towards the back of the altar rather than having them evenly spaced around like the classic Sigmarite Dace does. So we've got plenty to do. Let's start with... where do we want to start? I think I'm going to start with one of the smaller pillars just to get some practice and talk through the paint scheme as we go. Halloween themed team. I knew there was a new edition like with Empire and Orcs. I must have missed a Halloween bit on that, so my apologies, I must have missed that part. Right. So I've got a brand new brush for this. I got an extra large Citadel base brush, which is pretty much the largest brush GW sell, because the Sigmarite Dace is rather large. It's probably about 10-inch diameter, maybe more. It's sort of like that in terms of diameter, so there's a lot to paint, and we've got a lot to do. Okay, Mechanica Standard Grey, brand new pot of Mechanica Standard Grey for this project. And it is, whenever you open something for the first time, it's a right stiff bugger. There we go. Right, let's do this. Unfortunately, I haven't really got the quality of a setup to have like an overhead camera and all of that on screen. So something I might consider working on in the future, but I haven't really got a good place to mount an overhead camera. But it is something that's in the back of my mind. Since I've got a lamp, I've got a good bit of lighting here. It's something that we might do in future, but not today. Afternoon, or well, evening, as it broadly is for me. It's evening now, but yes, hello, welcome. Get in the pot. One downside of this brush, it's just wide enough to fit in the pot. But if it was any wider, it wouldn't fit. It is very warm. I had to set myself the task of building my desk for tonight's stream, and of course I picked to do it on the hottest pretty much one of the hottest days of the year, if not on record. It's been a very warm day. Luckily, I did manage to get an afternoon shower, so I'm fresh now. But yeah, building this wasn't fun. But hey, it is what it is. We move, as they say. Was it not the hottest day? I know that last week had a really hot day, but I'd heard there was talk that today was going to be stupid hot. So I didn't know if it, I don't know how hot it was. I know last week, I think it was like, was it Wednesday or was it Sunday last week? It was like the hottest, the third hottest day ever. Or something like that. I forget the exact data. I've been very sidetracked with everything else that I have going on. It was just as hot. Right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, even now I'm in shade and it's really warm in here, but I've got the window open and one day I may end up investing in a fan, but I don't think that's urgent because, well, I don't think we're going to have a few more days like this, and certainly by the time I get a fan it won't be worth it because winter will come. It was Friday, it was 34, today was 33. Okay, that's still though, still. Putting that bloke on the half-buried chaos star that comes to the execution force box. I don't remember which. I don't have the execution force box, so it's a little bit out of my head, that one. We haven't talked about anything to do with Blood Bowl. The plan for tonight was pretty much entirely around painting this altar of Khaine. So that's sort of the plan for tonight. If we get a bit translated, like say if I'm waiting for the base coat or the wash to dry, then we could talk about it, but it's not on my top of my to-do list, if I'm completely honest. But we might. We'll see how we go. It might be an interesting thing to chat about later. And this is the problem with sub-assemblies, because there's nowhere to put your fingers. Dear, oh dear. Yeah. No, you're fine. If you want to talk about it, talk about it. It's always good to see other people getting on with their projects as well. What have people got on their hobby desks? I imagine that there's a good chunk of people who have got Indomitus, or if just be finishing off Indomitus possibly. Actually, there's a good number of people like that. So what is on people's hobby desks? Since I've got my altar on mine. Godsworn Hunt, yep, I remember that. Though actually, remind me later to have a look at the Daughters of Khaine Underworld warband, Blood Coven. I need to remind myself exactly what they look like, so because I want to use them as part of the diorama / scenery altar as part of this conversion, I want to use the Blood Coven at some point if I can. So try and remind me later. Scorpec Lord, Alaris Terminators. Oh, nice mix of stuff. I expected to see a bit of Indominus, so that's fair enough. Alaris Terminators. I heard that Custodia is like impossible to buy of late, so I suspect they're possibly working through an older bit of backlog. So, well, depends on where you are. Here in the UK, Custodes went almost impossible to get when 9th came out, because everyone sort of heard the sort of grapevine was that Custodes were the nuts, or were going to be among the nuts. So we'll see how that shakes out in the end. They're not out yet. They're supposed to be out. They were in the General's Handbook, so they were supposed to be out by now, but because of lockdown, they're not. But they hopefully will be along too. I just want to have a look at the models, just to remind myself what's actually in there, so that I know how exactly I would use them on my altar. That's all. Right. I should have put something down for these. Actually, they can just sit on the main altar base itself. That's fine. What are the best armies going? I'd heard that they were going to be very good because of just the way they operate and the fact they weren't too affected by the points changes, but I hadn't heard all the details. Yeah, I've watched people playing Blood Bowl 2. I can't say I've played it myself because my PC doesn't really like gaming, MacBooks and all that. But yeah, I've heard it's good. It's just one of those things that, as I say with a lot of things, is I just don't have time for it. I don't have time. I don't have opponents. It's mainly time and opponents. And I've always got another hobby project on, like say this, my Lumineth, whatever. So I never get time to get into specialist games, though I did make an exception. I bought some Tiny Planes, because Tiny Planes are awesome. Collecting the bits for a battalion so that's a Lord, a Sorcerer, 3 squads of Chaos Marines, and then a Race Marine upgrade kit. That makes sense. Seems like a very solid baseline to get started with Emperor's Children, Noise Marines. Actually, I know from Discord that you're sort of making a sort of rock band style Emperor's Children army, which is really cool. So I look forward to seeing that when it's ready. Forge Road Custodians next to impossible. Transports almost went out of stock. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like I say, I had heard really good things. Though I didn't know if it was just the Forge World stuff or all of it. Okay, look, this stuff's hollow, so it's somewhere to put your hand when you're actually painting it. Saves having like a painting handle or something. Actually, the more I'm doing this, the more I think I might have done this in particular, this altar part, in the wrong colour. But I'll explain that later. Or I can explain it now if people are interested in what I'm doing with the paint scheme, but basically no real point changes. The meta rewards hitting tough, hard hitting tough units, and the Telemon being next to impossible to kill. Okay, that's a good as logic as I've seen. Ready by next November against Warhammer World. That sounds like a really good plan. I mean, next November is like a year, so hopefully, yeah, that'll be plenty of time. Assuming the world is back to a point where Warhammer World can operate and all of that jazz. Okay, that's that done. I think. Yeah. So I'm just going to put an extra light on, just to help me make sure I've got all the covering right. There we go. Shouldn't affect the lighting really. Okay, sounds like a decent plan. How many people have we got here, actually? I'm just curious. Okay, we've got 10 people here. That's fair enough. Retributor armor, I actually don't mind. I actually use Retributor armor as my sort of standard go-to gold. And I don't have a particular issue with it, but I did actually have to replace my gold layer paint, which was auric armor gold, because that actually watered down to nothing. Retributor armor I can still get to work, at least. I replaced my auric armor with Liberator gold as my new highlight. Though admittedly I'm not painting entire armies in gold, I use it sort of as a fancy metallics rather than my entire army's colour scheme if you do classic Custodes, so I suppose there are people with more authority on that than me. Okay, so that's that part of the pillar. And again, the more I'm thinking about this, maybe I've got the colour scheme or part of the colour scheme slightly wrong. Yeah, I enjoy painting gold. I really do. Like when I was doing my Magnus, I got a really nice gold effect, really nice gold on my Magnus model back when I got his Primarch model for 30k. So I really do enjoy painting gold. In many ways, I prefer painting gold to painting silver. But I know that some gold paints are annoying, and I think it's always the layer paints. The metallic layer paints are just horrid. I find them really, they split so easily, at least I find, or at least in my opinion, they seem to split really easily, and they're much harder to salvage if they do split. But that's just my opinion. That may not be everyone's personal findings. Combi Plasma, Reaper, Autocannon, 10-man Terminator Bomb. Yeah, that sounds like a very 9th edition friendly combo. Big, chunky unit, fast moving thanks to teleportation. Seems right at home in the new edition, I suspect. But then again, I'm not a meta person. Okay, that's interesting. So when the old world comes out, which faction are you looking to play as? Well, that depends on what the factions are. Because we don't know what the factions are going to be in Warhammer the Old World. Is it just going to be the Old World? So all you get is like greenskins, humans, dwarves, Britannia. Are we playing as the Empire, or are we playing as a time before the Empire? Are we playing as the different city-states that form the Empire? Are we going to have elves? Are we going to have lizard men? Are we going to have undead? Are we going to have Khemri? Are we going to have Skaven? We don't know what the factions are going to look like yet. I mean, by default, I'm an elven player. Like I had a high elf army for fantasy. I've got my Daughters of Khaine, my Agna Deepkin, my Lumineth Realm Lords, and my Cities of Sigmar are Order Serpentis and Darkling Covens. I am an elven player, so if I can play elves, I'll probably play elves. And maybe if, say, Ulthuan and Nagaroth are not there, that might be a chance to try Wood Elves out, because I've never played Wood Elves. So maybe Wood Elves, just to complete the set, and also gives me a possible chance of some Wanderers for my Cities of Sigmar army as well, depending on how good the crossover is. But we'll see exactly what the units are, because we don't know the factions in the game yet, so it's too early to say, in my humble opinion. But it's a good question, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people who have an idea if they want to play Old World, what it's going to be. Yeah, okay, I've done that wrong. I've changed my mind. I've changed my mind. I'm going to do this slightly differently. I think, though I'm probably not going to thank myself for it, I've got a slightly different plan. Skaven are fun. Granted, some of the Skaven range really needs an update. Some of it is ancient. Things like Jezzails, a lot of the weapon teams are very old. So it depends on what they give Skaven in terms of plastics or Forge World resin. Also that, we don't know, well, given we've seen things like the Bear Cavalry and the Elite Warrior Women of Kislev, I think that it's still going to be bigger than a skirmish game. I don't think it's going to be a skirmish game because the way I sort of see the Old World is it's Forge World's new job once they finish 30k. So 30k will finish and Forge World's next production line will be Warhammer the Old World. So I think they'll still make a big scale game to help keep Forge World's numbers up and keep Forge World busy, but I can't be sure of that. That's just my opinion. Oh, yeah, Emperor's children do fight first, don't they? I'd forgotten that. Some of the Skaven models are older than 40k. I wouldn't be surprised. I couldn't give you a named example. I think they were talking in the Discord the other night about some of the old Skaven models, and I forget exactly what came up. So, the plan with this altar thing is I'm currently working on a conversion, painting a conversion that looks something like this. So this is a Photoshop, rough idea of what I'm going for, but I'm not going to paint it in that colour scheme, and I'm going to assemble it slightly differently. So I've got a Sigmarite Dace, and I'm going to build it as an altar of Khaine. So I'm going to replace the Sigmar statue with the avatar of Khaine for the Cauldron of Blood. I've got one spare because I'm going to be making a Blood Rack shrine out of my Daughters of Khaine start collecting. So the plan, if you like, quote unquote, is to paint this up. You can see that in the middle, that red part, that's going to be like a blood pool, and I bought some Blood for the Blood God technical paint to help with that. I'm going to need a tutorial on how that works if we get there later. But I'm planning to do something like that, though it will be a different colour scheme to fit my Ulgish style, like a mix of Ulgu and Hish and Elven colours, rather than the classic marble, stone, Sigmar colours. But that's what I'm working on at the moment. So at the moment, I'm just painting the base stonework, which is going to form the Dace itself and the bases of the pillars, not the pillars themselves. I've changed my mind halfway through. So the stonework and the base of the pillars is going to be done in like Ulgu style stone. So it's going to be Mechanica Standard Grey, and then I'm going to overbrush it with the Fang, which is the sort of dark Space Wolves grey, like old school Space Wolves type grey, which is this one. And then I'm going to wash it with Druchii Violet, the purple wash. So this is how I've been doing some of my basing for my Lumineth Realm Lords. I'm then going to paint the pillars, so the little stands that the braziers are on, the fire pits, the actual pillars themselves, and the main altar in more white elven grey, so Astronomican grey. Possibly highlighted on the edges with Corax white or Ceramite white. And then I'm going to wash that down with, I think, Drakenhof Nightshade. So it's a different shade of blue to still keeping that Hishian colours of blues and white mixed with the Ulguin colours of grey and purple. How does Druchii Violet turn out? I actually really like it. So if I get one of my Lumineth, I don't know how well you'll see it, but if I hold that out to camera, no. But it does work. You get a really good purple effect. You clearly tell it's been washed with purple, even if it's a base colour of, say, grey or blues or something like that. You can still see the purple effect. At least I can anyway, but that's possibly just because I'm looking for it. Have I painted? Yes, I've painted you. This is the problem with Mechanica Standard Grey. It looks so similar to Sprue Grey that you can't tell what you haven't done. Partial to Bretonnians. Yeah, Bretonnia's cool. Granted, I think because a lot of their models were so old and I wasn't really into like medieval knights back when I was younger, they didn't really appeal to me. But like the Grail Knights or the Pegasus Knights are definitely cool. even though I don't ever think they'd be the army for me, which is odd because I am renowned. That's one thing I always say about my Sigmar armies is I very much like chunky heavy cavalry, and Britannia had a lot of chunky heavy cavalry. I can't tell you what it'll look like over like purple Emperor's Children armor because I don't really paint purple over purple particularly, but I think it would be a good shade if you don't want to make it too dark using like null oil. You can also ask in the Discord as well, because I think one of the other paints that's very popular is the blue wash Drakenhof Nightshade. That might also work as a slightly different tone, but I'm not the person to ask. They're the sort of two washes I'd recommend if you don't want to go with null oil. But obviously, there are many, many, many painters out there who know far, far better than I do. Oh, use it over lead belcher. Okay. Like I said, you'd have to practice, and you'd have to get a test model, but I think you could make that work. I think that could work, and again, you can clearly see the purple on it, so sort of like, almost like the purple nature of their armour has bedded into the silver, and it now just sort of has a purple hue to it naturally. That would probably be the effect you'd get if you did that. Also, this is weird. There's no one in my ear. So I've joined the voice chat on my Discord, just because it's a way of me just helping people who are just checking chat and things like that. And no one's popped in this time, so it's a very quiet experience. I might put some music on in my ears. I can't play music on stream, obviously, but I could do that at least. So getting to the old world will be hard because it's Forge World. Yeah, that's... There we go. I'm not bored anymore with someone in my ear now. Asking you shall receive. Yeah, Forge World has the argument that, yeah, Forge World's expensive, but we'll have to see exactly what it shakes out, and we don't know yet if any of the old Warhammer Fantasy molds or the Age of Sigmar mold will work for Fantasy Old World. We don't know at this time. So there may be some way of using GW sculpts, which are tiny bit cheaper, not massively cheaper, let's be fair, this is an expensive hobby, no ifs, buts or coconuts, but there's an argument possibly that you could get it slightly cheaper. Did a Slaanesh Chaos Flick about for Gothic, and that was lead belcher with a purple wash and purple contrast. Okay, good to hear that there's some possible feedback on that idea, so go for it. I think is the consensus from chat is go for it. Yeah, by nature 40k is very absurd. And it was quite funny actually. I read the interview with the author of the Marnius Calgar comic, Kieran Gillen. He did an interview with another publication, not GW or Warhammer Community, a separate publication. And he very much was like, people who play Warhammer, who take Warhammer to be playing it straight, are just like not getting it. It wasn't quite that savage, but it was certainly that Warhammer is not meant to be taken at face value and taken straight. Or if you do take it at face value, don't assume it's playing it straight. Isn't Battlefield Biz also the one where the Iron Blood has no windows? Oh, I always get Battle for the Abyss and the ones around Foul mixed up. I see. Actually, speaking of Horus Heresy books, did any of you read the interview they did on Warhammer Community today with Guy Haley? the author of Dawn of Fire and sort of one of the chief overseers of the Dawn of Fire series. I'll give you. I'm not going to go and like walk through the article because we'll be here all week, but it was an interesting little read, just sort of setting out some of the ethos of things, and just it was just interesting. And so one of the things that he did say is, for at least the first few books, we will never get it from Gilliman's point of view. So Gilliman will be there. They've stressed that Gilliman will be there, but it will always be him viewed through the eyes of others. It will not be Gilliman's own perspective, which will help to keep a bit of mystery around how Gilliman sees the Imperium, because which Guy Haley has in his hand anyway, because he wrote Dark Imperium and he wrote Plague War. But I think it would just be interesting to see how different groups within the Imperium react to him. The Fleet Masters who've known he's around for ages and he's just their boss, versus the average factory worker who's like, wait, our world's just been saved by an honest Terran Primarch? WT flip? Yeah, there certainly is a, well, what does this mean for me crowd? And, well, if you know what you're doing, it doesn't mean much. If you're a High Lord of Terror, it means you pretty much get fired because you tried to launch a coup or something like that. I forget exactly how that book goes, but yes. It's the Chris Freight novels, isn't it? Watchers of the Throne. Yeah, because the first one is when the Astronomicon goes out. I think the second one is the High Lord's Coup and the Primarch's Scourge, if I remember correctly. Valerian? I always say Valerian because there was that film called like Valerian and the Thousand Planets that was like a Luc Besson film, and I don't know why the name Valerian stuck with me, so I always remember his name, if that is his name. Sorry, chat's been passing me by. Besides my Olgish campaign, which is what I'm painting this for, do you think Slaanesh will be freed in the lore? I think it's inevitable, but I don't want to say when. I think that we may see it toward the end of AOS 4, because I've got this sort of roadmap of AOS 2 is... AOS 1 was Chaos versus Order, AOS 2 is Death versus Order, AOS 3 is Destruction, Great War, Reformation of the Pantheon of Order with Nagash, AOS 4, Pantheon fractures, Nagash goes back to being a dick, Slaanesh gets out, and there's an Elven Civil War as a result. That's sort of my roadmap in my head for how AOS will go, but I'm very much willing to be corrected, because I just love like the Greek tragedy style of AOS. It's got so much Greek myth written all over it, and the powers of gods at play. It just suits me down to the ground. Oh, is people stuff streaming at the same time? One to keep in mind. If I can ever get the setup working, I may ask him if you want to cross the streams as you like. But I admit, if two people talking about Sigmar at the same time, then yeah, who'd you pick? Because 2 plus Dub is definitely your lore master when it comes to Sigmar. Whereas with me, you'll probably get a bit of a wider mix of nonsense. And because I've got chat on the screen, it's easier for me to keep up with chat, I suspect. But I have seen a couple of 2 Plus's streams, and they are good. I can't help but feel like a Slaaneshi demon has probably done that, because I remember the story in 40k of a Slaaneshi keeper of secrets that disguises itself as a lover to an Eldari, male or female, I forget, and that allows the invasion of the craft world. And I think that's the one where the avatar of Khaine gets possessed or something, and some nonsense like that. But I can't remember exactly how that one goes. It's a short story in the Codex. It's actually one of those like timeline segments in the Codex, I think. But I don't remember exactly how it goes. But that sounds right to me. Unspoken rules of AOS. I mean, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I know about some of them. Like there's the written ones, like the sort of player's code of etiquette that we have. Also, I've just thought I could pop this up in the corner. Might as well pretend we have a poster. I mean, especially nowadays, keep good hygiene is definitely important. I mean, yeah, it's true before everything's going on, but especially now. So, will Dawn of Fire be only about Primaris Marines? No. They've made it very clear, even in the initial reveal interview, that they're going to be focusing on a lot of different factions. So we'll see Imperial citizenry, there will be Primaris. One of the key characters that he talks about in the first book is going to be the Fleet Mistress of Fleet Tertius for the Indomitus Crusade. So I definitely think there'll be a mix of characters. They've made it clear that there's going to be a lot of different characters. They can't say they're going to be on the level of the Locans of this world, but they are introducing a new roster of characters who are not just Space Marines. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about. Right, I'm going to just leave those to dry because I haven't got something on the desk to put them on and I don't want to mark my desk on its first day. So I'm going to leave those to dry for a moment. Not enough lore in perspective of the Orcs. Orcs or Oryx, to be fair. Like the Oryx of AOS, I really like the lore of the Iron Jaws and the Bone Splitters, but certainly I think that's why AOS 3 is going to be Destruction, because AOS 1, there wasn't much about death at all. We barely got to see any death stuff until Leaders of Nagash 6 months before the new edition. And that's why I think AOS 3 is going to be a heavy focus on Destruction and the Great War to give the Greenskins that push, Oryx, Goblins, and also allow them to expand on the Ogres, the Sons of Behemoth, the Gargants when they come out. That's sort of my logic. But in 40k, yes, definitely I would love to see some more stuff for Orcs. But of all the Xenos races, Orcs probably get the most love in lore because they're the easiest, like, beat stick, and they're the easiest punching bag for in terms of number of invasions. If you're not seeing them fighting Chaos, they're typically the Imperium's fighting Orcs. It's rare. It's much rarer you'll find them fighting Tau, Eldari, Drakari, or Tyranids. You'll typically find Orcs are the most common, though I admit with the new push of 9th edition, we may see more Necrons. For 40k, just like a named character for Mechanicus other than Belisarius. That would definitely be nice, but to be fair, if we want to talk about like named characters, I'm just trying to think, did Genestealer Cults have a named character? No. Who else? How many named characters did Drakari have? 3. Eldari, about 12 because they've got the Phoenix Lords. Orcs, 1 who's a HQ. Actually, none who are HQs. No, wait, does that actually stick our HQs? Oh god, I can't remember. Ghazghkull's a Lord of War, as I recall. I think they changed into a Lord of War, if he wasn't already. Let me just remind myself what chapter approved says, because I've forgotten. Orcs. No, that's Forge World Orcs. Ignore me. Orcs. Actually, this is just their points values. It's got nothing to do with their role. And I don't know if the new Ghazghkull got made into a Lord of War. But for named characters, Grotsnik's an elite. Badrock's not a hate. Actually, I'm going to have to double check this now. Sorry, I've got myself distracted thinking about which Orc named characters are actually HQs anymore because they shifted them around from unit upgrades to elite slots to all sorts of things. Okay, so Badrock is in... Oh no, they're all in HQ. I stand corrected, they're all in HQ. What am I saying? Tower, fine with Farsight, Shadow Sun, the 2 Hounds, Dark Strider, Long Strike. Nids have got the Swarm Lord, they don't really need much more. Though the Doom... Yeah, but having things like the Doom of Malantai back and Old One Eye and the Red Terror, I wouldn't be against that. But yeah, definitely I think Mechanicus is one of those who have very few named characters, and I think it would be good for them to get a few more. I can't really argue with that. True. Gene Stealers would be a bit tricky because they don't really travel. They live on a world, and then Tyranids are coming, so they have a fight, and then either they die, or they get eaten by the Tyranids. Gaz's HQ, I wasn't sure if they moved into Lord of War with Psychic Awakening 6, because I remember him being a Lord of War in 7th edition and just losing my gosh darned marbles. Like, why are you in the Lord of War slot? Get out of the Lord of War slot. Why are you there? There was a few Lord of Wars in 7th. Like Logan Grimnar was a Lord of War for no sodding reason. So I think that was just a bad habit of 7th edition that I'm glad they've moved past. He was moved to HQ with the index. For 8th edition, yeah, I couldn't remember if Psychic Awakening 6 put him back in Lord of War when he got his upgrade. But I'm inclined to trust you because I'm not buying Psychic Awakening 6 in a hurry. It's not, I don't know why, but it's just not on my to-do list. Even though I know that it's important as an orc player to have it, it's just so not on my to-do list. I'm just not playing orcs right now. I got Psychic Awakening 5 because I heard about the Enclaves rules. If it weren't for the Enclaves rules, I probably wouldn't have bothered. And I had a look at some of the stuff that was in there with like custom jobs and stuff like that. It just didn't grab me. It just didn't grab me at all. I did buy a MechBoy Workshop for it though. Instant regret. Should have done that. Right, I'm now going to spend the next half an hour trying to paint a flipping massive Sigmarite Dace, so bear with me. This is a very big piece of kit. I'm going to be here a while. Thank you very much. Yeah, it has been a busy day. I mean, like, as I said earlier, I spent most of the afternoon building my desk that I'm now working on. So that was fun. Though not as fun as shoving 60 kilograms of sofa up the stairs on my own. That was an unpleasant experience. Thanks, IKEA. Oh, Bakari's HQ. I thought he was I thought he'd have been in elites. But then again, I suppose you wouldn't be able to run Wibb's Grot Rebellion army. They needed a Grot HQ, and now they've got one. Sure, it's not the Red Gobbo, but got to start somewhere. Well, Grots is more good to the point, because, well, Grot carpet bombing was definitely a strategy in 8th edition because of the way the detachment system rewarded, like, 2 detachments. Disappointed in Psychic Awakening 6 because we didn't get custom clans but got subcultures. Actually, like, didn't give them customization. Yeah, like, of all the armies you'd expect to get custom tactics and ways of waging war, it would be the orcs of all the people. Like, forget Space Marine custom tactics, forget Tau custom tactics, orcs. No two orcs are the same. Well, Farsight would say different, but you know. Yeah, but most of those people are wrong. Because I remember there's a little short, because there's in the Orc 4th edition codex, there's a strategic briefing, or strategic debriefing about commandos. Orcs wearing camouflage and using stealth, preposterous, man. You are to be executed for incompetence. It's just like, orc snipers would be funny. Like, I'd love to have like a storm boy. I imagine having like an alternate kit to Stormboy, so they train in the same Stormboy camps, like relentless drilling, but instead of being relentlessly drilled and then given rocket packs and said to go, they're relentlessly drilled as sharpshooters as a way to work out their youthful aggression. Sure, and it's so un-orky. I mean, suppressors. Yeah, true. No. Vehicles definitely lost the -1 penalty. It made vehicles actually feasible. Oh, that raises a question. Do we think the Predator will be retired and replaced with the Gladiator? Aside from the holdouts who say I refuse to play Primaris because F you Primaris, in terms of competitive power, but yeah, in terms of like the meta, I don't know if Preds were really used competitively at all, but I get the feeling. Because GW has a horrid habit of making Primaris stuff woefully overpowered and then nerfing it later. Ish. Eradicators. Ugh. Like literally, as soon as people had a look at the Eradicators data sheet, they were just like, "No, these need nerfing. They're overpowered." Like they're Fire Dragon Exarchs with 3 wound power armor and better melter guns than Tau. I'm gonna paint that in. Okay, I'm gonna paint that in white. Then, if that's we don't know what their points cost is going to be in the main codex yet. We've only got their Indomitus points cost, which are of course subject to variance. They may decide that the Indomitus stuff is different to the bloody codex stuff. Who knows? Which would be weird, but who knows? This is GW. Anyway, chat. I pray to Gorkum Orc GW gives Orcs looted tanks back. Well, they did in open play in Chapter Approved 2018. That's where looted wagons went. Because they couldn't protect. I think it was. I don't know if it was entirely an IP issue. Like there's. Yeah, I thought it might have been an IP issue. So with Gaz back in the galaxy, do you think we'll get a new Commissar Yarrick model? I don't think Yarrick needs one. Like, aside from just updating him into plastic, the Yarrick model is gorgeous. But when they do these redesigns, they never just move it to plastic. Like we've seen the snapshots of what looks like plastic Lilith. Lilith Hesprax did not need a new model aside from putting it in plastic, but when they put it in plastic, they couldn't leave well enough alone and have changed it by the looks of it. So, honestly, I love the way Yarrick looks, but obviously when you move them over to plastic, they'll tinker with it, and I don't know if they really should, because it is just a lovely sculpt. And I say that as long as it's never worked on the model, so. I love how I'm holding this like I'm holding a friggin' pizza. I'm just like spinning a pizza in ultra slow motion and like I'm brushing it with like an egg wash before I stick it in the oven. I'm afraid I'm not getting the beers in. I don't drink. I've got a glass of juice, but I've not got the beers in because I don't drink. But if you want to get the beers in, then by all means get the beers in. There's someone in chat who's put beer emojis. That's that. I'm talking to them rather than the people in my ear at 6 in the morning. I think there should be an alt looted tank kit. That's the problem. You need a looted wagon upgrade sprue rather than a shell, because if you give them a shell, then all looted wagons will look the same. Just an upgrade sprue would be a start, but the problem is, like, why would you bother just scavenge up bits from the last 25 vehicles you've worked on, because you're playing Evil Sons if you know what you're doing. So I don't see that. But then again, GW don't give you as many spares anymore with like the war trike and stuff not coming with conversion options, and there's no spares. And battle wagon. I do love the battle wagon kit. I remember seeing it, and because my first army was Orcs, I got it as a. I think it was my. So when I got into the hobby, it was 2008, and then January happened in 2009. So I got a Black Reach. I chipped in for a Black Reach as my. So Black Reach was my birthday present as a chip. I chipped in for that. Then I got a Battle Force for Christmas, and then I think my next birthday present was a Battle Wagon, because I was that obsessed with the Battle Wagon kit. And I waited 8 months for one because I didn't have 35 quid spare at the time. I was 12. The battle wagon was supposed to be. It was supposed to be that, but then obviously they couldn't help upscaling with. They added the Stomper, there's the Gorkanaut and Morkanaut. The Battle Fortress obviously is, but obviously in the main codex, if you want to travel in style, yeah, you still get a battle wagon and you do it properly, and I think that should always be the way. Oh, the kit is just a buttload of... Oh, sorry, I misunderstood you. Apologies. A buttload of bits, but not the tank. Yeah, sorry, that's what I did. That's what... Yeah, we agree then, sorry. You're not the first person in chat there saying I look different than I expected, putting the voice, a face to the voice, which surprises me. Well, I suppose it does and it doesn't, because I'm clearly British, but I've got long hair and all that, so I probably don't come. I don't know what my voice makes you think I sound like. Whether I sound like, because of 40k stories, whether I sound like faux Latin, I sound like a pompous arse that probably keeps himself ultra prim and proper and wears a suit all the time, even when it's 45 degrees. I don't know what my voice tells you people I look like. Come on, pizza. Okay, note to Tactica, never work in a pizza restaurant. It's purely a note to self thing, because I'm really struggling to hold this and I'm spinning it round. Oh god, yeah. Oh god, yeah. Like the pizza toss thing, as cool as it looks, I can imagine that is an art form. Uncle Jack, long-haired widow pick. I sincerely hope that pick has been auto-corrected from not having an R in the middle of it, because that would be very rude if so. I'm just hope they weren't trying to call me a prick. Which, if you're not British, is an insult, and it's not a bad one, but it's not a particularly nice one either. Yeah, you never know quite how far British like sub language goes. Obviously, through American TV, through British TV going further afield, you know, some of it gets out, but you don't know quite what people will get and what people won't. So that's why I said sofa and not settee a few minutes ago, because as much as I say settee, most people outside of Britain probably don't use the half of Britain doesn't use the word settee, because sofa has just become the norm. The couch is a very Americanism, I feel like. I'm not saying it isn't prevalent in other parts of the world, but it really feels like an Americanism. Yeah, that's the one thing. Someone just said that they've quite enjoyed the community like aspect of not just like the creators, but the people around them. So like people in chat tonight and all that. And that's really true. It's one of the things I'm really proud of as part of this doing this channel. That I love making content, and I really love just sharing my passion for the hobby, because this channel is what kept me in the hobby 6.5 years ago. Oh God, it was 6.5 years ago. In January 2014 when I founded this channel. That was what kept me in the hobby, because I wasn't enjoying playing the game at the time. But I love the community that we built, and I can't take full credit for it. Like obviously, I'm sort of adjacent to Remlaze's community, and thus by extension the TTS community, even though I'm not in TTS. So I know I've picked up a really good crowd from the TTS lot. And working with all of them, and genuinely, like, aside from the odd comment, like the comments on videos and stuff are really, really, really good, and it's really great to interact with people. And even when they're bashing me, normally I can spend 2 minutes rebutting it, and we can just have a nice civil discussion about something. No, those people who decide. There was a comment on Wednesday's stream like, "You look like a serial killer." That was deleted. Yeah, whatever. I'm not being a god. If they ask me to be a Barnsley guardsman, God no. If there's one thing that I wish I didn't have, just one thing that I wish I could not get rid of, is that I've got a very weak Yorkshire accent, and particularly a weak Barnsley accent, because I'm from around Barnsley. My accent is actually very weak comparatively, but I know if I had a very thick lad sort of Barnsley accent, I would be one of the least comprehensible YouTubers who speaks English on this planet. I would be utterly incomprehensible, and I don't think that even if Alpha were to offer me a role as a Barnsley guardsman, I don't think I'd enjoy it very much. Besides, Rem, Snipe and Wib have got the sort of Cockney Londoner sort of EastEnders type accent for the guardsmen and the scions, so... Oh, comment there. Orc Warboss, a flyboy who crashed one too many times. Funny that, because those orcs who were flyboys who lost their plane in a crash, often repurpose the fuselage into Death Killer Wartrikes. No, Megatrack scrapjets. Sorry. So scrapjets are normally piloted by flyboys who were involved in one too many crashes and loved the thrill of crashing headlong into stuff. Hence the nose drill and all that stuff. So, if you want to convert your wagon a bit, maybe you could give it, instead of, as a custom death roller, give it the nose drill from the Death Killer Wartrike. I keep saying Death Killer Wartrike, Megatrack Scrapjet. Oh, turn the plane into Mega Armor. That works too. Given the stat line of Primaris, what are Custodes supposed to be now? Um, this is the problem. I remember seeing a thread about this, about like now that Outriders exist, are they just statistically like, and Blade Guard veterans, are they just like better than Custodes now? Um, like point for point, there are some people who say that they're better than Custodes. I can't say that without crunching the numbers and all that stuff, but apparently point for point they're just as good, if not better, than their Custodes equivalents. So maybe. Oh, there's definitely power creep. Batwagon's turning into an air traffic control tower. That sounds really cool. I have no idea how you'll do it, but you could add like satellite dishes and stuff like that on top of the cannon turret. Maybe replace the cannon in the turret with like a satellite dish on top, or maybe the one off the new one off the Primaris turret. I think that has like a satellite dish, doesn't it? So you could put that on as like a little traffic controller, have a Vox Grot, and all that stuff. I can see some really cool stuff. I have no idea how you do it, but there's just some thoughts that just came to my head. Mauler Fiend. Right, so I've done the first base coat of the altar. Need to coordinate 15 Deathcopters, 2 planes, and a Chin-Orc. Oh god, the Chin-Orc! I forgot that was a thing. I forgot the Chin-Orc existed. Right, so we're about an hour into the stream. I'm not sure how late I want to go. I've started early by my standards at 6:30. So this has got the option to go long. I could go for like 3 or so hours quite happily as I'm going to go get a drink halfway through. So I've done the first base coat of the grey. My next task for that will be to overlay it with sort of like an overbrush of the fang. And then when that's done, I'll do my Druchii Violet wash, and then it'll just be a case of highlighting the details. But as soon as I put the wash on, that's painting over, because, well, a wash on something like this will take about an hour to dry. So I'm just not sure what order I want to do things in. Do I want to do the Astronomican Grey? And yes, I do use Astronomican Grey, not Celestra Grey. Celestra Grey is garbage. Astronomican Grey, the old one, all the way. But I'm not sure what order I want to do things, so I think I'm going to do the Fang now. Yeah, the Volcano Cannon was a blast weapon back in the day. It was a blast weapon. I think it was a pie plate back in 5th, 6th, and 7th. What blast was it? Was it a 7, a 5, or a 10? I've got a squirrel going and digging around in their books to tell me what pie plate the blast template of the Shadow Sword was. The Volcano Cannon in particular. I mean, as a Warlord Titan weapon, I can imagine it being like a 7-inch blast, but... So just blast, so the 3-inch. Oh, 10-inch blast. That makes more sense. That makes more sense. Oh, it was a 5-inch blast. Oh, thank you, PG. Apparently it was a 5-inch for the Shadow Sword. Because I didn't think it was a Mega Blast or the Apocalyptic Blast template because of the fact that it was designed as a Titan killing gun, not a Horde clearance gun. The cheapest 40k army is a single Warhound Titan. How much is a Warhound Titan again? Plus its guns. I don't want to say you're right or you're wrong because I haven't checked all the numbers, but I doubt that's true somehow. Like, surely it would just be a single Imperial Knight or a couple of Knights would be cheaper than a Warhound, right? How much is a Warhound? I don't know what a Warhound costs in points or pounds. So I can't really say how much it compares to a Knight Maniple. No, Titan Maniple, Knight. Do they still call them Maniples in Knights? I can't remember. Lance, a Knight Lance, that's it, thank you. See, this is why I have people in my ear. They remind me of things. So if a Warhound is 400 quid, then you can get like 4 Knights for that. Because a Knight's like 80 quid. You get 4 or 5 Knights for that. Granted, that doesn't account Dominus versus Armature versus regular, but I think you could certainly get 3 to 5 Knights for 400 quid. If you knew what you were doing. I don't know how much a Porphyrion is. PG is the person to ask because they're the Forge World expert that we have. Yeah, we were talking on Podcasters 102 about the Porphyrion, and I thought it had been banned in Titanicus, but it's just been nerfed into the floor. It wasn't that it was banned, it was nerfed into the floor. Because it was overpowered. It's like soloing Warlords or something. I actually turned the latency down on the stream, so hopefully there's a bit less. I actually set it to ultra low latency just to try and increase the... I don't know how much it's helping for chat in terms of delay and what I'm saying and what's coming up on screen, but hopefully it's just helping with a bit of interaction because I turned the latency down thanks to my lovely overpowered Wi-Fi that can upload a podcast in 15 minutes and it's gorgeous. Custodes, that's an argument because they are expensive model for model, but I don't know how much boxes of them really cost. But I think if you were sticking to like Custodian Guard and stuff and making a shield captain out of the box, then yeah, you could probably get that relatively cheaply. Did the Necrons get a lot more anti-armor? We haven't seen the Codex yet, so we don't know what all their new units do. But I would wager that if there's one thing that the Katana Shard of the Void Dragon can do, it's rip tanks to pieces. Plus they've got the You Cannot Take Doomstalker, which has got like a Doom Scythe gun. Which is probably going to absolutely shred everything it hits. but I can't say exactly how much anti-tank they've got. Plus the Locust Heavy Destroyer, but that might be replacing the classic Heavy Destroyer. We don't know yet for certain if it's replacing the Heavy Destroyer, but that's going to be anti-tank as well. The actual Scorpet Lord, I think, is mostly anti-heavy infantry rather than anti-tank. Also, there's the Tachyon Arrow, which is strength 15 and unlimited range, but that's once per game anyway. Okay, that's interesting. The Necrons are getting a new start collecting. They're getting a new codex. They're in the starter box, the Elite Recruit and Command. As for whether they're getting a new start collecting, we don't know. What they're going to start collecting, I think, is not got worries. It's got Immortals anyway. So I think they could leave the Necron start collecting alone. Oh, it's got Warriors. Okay. So yeah, that'll be replaced then. In. Oh, and it doesn't even exist on the website. That explains everything. All good. I think every army will get a start collecting eventually, even Sisters, especially with their unique box being long gone and selling like hotcakes. Like giving people access to more Sisters is still going to work. So I think every army should get a start collecting. I think that's just sort of an unwritten rule of fairness. With the possible exception of Knights. And Custodian start collecting could be interesting because you put in like a Custodian Guard squad and then maybe like one Terminator frame to make a shield captain in Terminator armor. That could be an interesting start collecting Custodes. Yeah, but you can't really be putting Guard and jet bikes in there because they haven't got a standalone HQ model for Custodes apart from Valoris, and they don't generally, they did do it with the Thousand Suns, put named characters in a box. I know they did it with the Thousand Suns and Armament though. Destroyers hit those guys with anything that does flat 3 damage. Yeah, how many guns do you have that deal flat 3 damage again? Yeah, well, this is a guard player asking, so it was just I love the Yavara and I do want one day. Yes, this is from a guard perspective, and they don't really have much flat 3. I know they've got a lot of D3 damage lurking in there, but I don't know about how much flat 3 the guard actually have. Like plasma cannons, maybe overcharged. The Eradicator is a Nova Cannon, and it's generally it was the Norse cover gun, the Eradicator Nova Cannon. That's an auto cannon, so I think that's damage 2. Oh, the Execution is the plasma. That's it. Oh, the new ones do 3d3, do they? Okay, yeah, 3d3. Well, damage 3 when you're rolling 3d3 is. Baneblades, Russes, but which Russes? Because like the Executioner plasma cannon I could see. The Exterminator autocannon, no chance. Punisher, no. Battle cannon, damage D3. Vanquisher, single shot. Maybe, and probably damage D6, so overkill. Demolishes damage D6. Anyone think Custodes have been pointed out of usefulness? They're regarded at the moment as one of the most powerful armies in the game. So, no, not yet. Launch a Death Strike missile. Yeah, I raise you overkill. It wants its BS back. Throwing a Death Strike missile at a unit of destroyers is what's called inglorious overkill. Oh yeah, the 1812s. Yeah, the basilisks. That's a point. I don't know what deep damage an Earthshaker cannon is, but I'm guessing it's a lot. Oh, if you're launching a Death Strike missile at Custodes, yeah, sorry, we've got two conversations going on. One about killing destroyers and damage 3 guard guns, and then we've got another one about Custodes. But again, if you're throwing a Death Strike missile at Custodes, unless the Death Strike ignores invulnerable saves, then have fun. If it does mortals, then yeah, that's fine. But again, one unit of Custodes for an entire tank, for the one shot of a tank for an entire game. Worth it? Oh, the Manticore. I hate the Manticore. I've got bad memories of the 8th edition Manticore. Just blowing holes in my Tau army. That wasn't fun. Yeah, but the Vanquish is a single shot, so it doesn't have the same, like, multiple damage effect. Yeah, it's an anti-tank gun, the Vanquish, a battle cannon, if I remember. Had armor. It used to have armor bane back in the day. Is that all 4? Yep, that's all 4. Right, and we're back on the pizza. And yes, I will refer to this as a pizza until it has something else stuck to it soon. And that's why. Oh, I'm doing well today. Death Strikes and Mortals. Okay, good to know. I can raise that. I spilled a pot of Nuln oil down myself live on stream. When your knight is so overpowered that it gets slapped off a table in baby rage. Wow. I mean, I had an instant where I accidentally knocked a model off the table, which was the old Metal Demon Prince. I've told this story before to people in the Discord, where one of my friends, one of our mods, Ben, had got the Metal Demon Prince of Chaos for his Red Corsairs army, and he spent weeks trying to build it because it wouldn't stay together because we were 12 and none of us knew what pinning was, and it was before magnetizing was particularly common. So he finally got it glued together, left it on the edge of the table, and then I, or one of my friends, I forget who it was exactly, bumped the table by accident, just trying to sneak past someone, and down went the DP and smash. Though, it beats being nearly strangled for touching somebody's model before. That was fun. I haven't fought against Tau yet, so what's their worst tank killers? If you want tank killers in Tau, oh god, how many do you want? We have the railgun, the heavy rail rifle, the ion accelerator, missile pods are damage D3, strength 7, and can get more power if you take a custom set tenet. We've also got Melter guns for days. The Yavara is overpowered as sin. The Fusion Collider is a multiple shot blast melter weapon. I don't know if it's actually got blast, I'd have to double check. We've got Fusion Blasters we've got 18-inch range melter guns that work, they're also assault. We've got, as I say, ion weapons that can be overcharged for strength high, damage high, and a very low risk of overcharge. Our plasma weapons are not good at killing tanks, but anti-tank, the tower have got a lot. I wish the argument wasn't just take Riptides, because I love my Riptide, but I hate Triptide just being the most powerful thing going. You're lucky you're a mod, or I would kick you for that. It wasn't that you made it up, it was that you started singing in the first place. Right, how many people have we got here this evening? About 15 people here, cool. I think, as I say, once we get like a more regular crowd on these Friday streams, especially if we continue doing like stream projects, so that we might make it a habit of doing like terrain projects as a stream. So like we'll do conversions and like all that stuff together, and then we'll have projects that we paint on stream, and that will sort of just give a bit of a vibe to these Friday streams, and hopefully people will get used to the idea and turn out. Because I would stream either way, whether I was getting a crowd of 5 or 5,000. I won't ever get a crowd of 5,000. But it's nice that people can get involved with this stuff, and doing like projects like this, when we're doing like conversion stuff that we were doing last time, is definitely one of the ways that we could go about it. Yeah, actually, I think you just saying about you got noticed by one one of the couple of teammates. I think I got followed by Wade Price the other day, or someone who has the same name as Wade Price. Well, either it's Wade. I haven't actually double checked. It's either Wade Price or someone else called Wade Price. I'd have to go and double check. As an Orc player, I want a nuke too. Have you heard the story of the Orc looted Death Strike missile? Where they couldn't get it to work and it just blew them all up? Yeah, I think Phil Kelly follows me because I atted him when I talked about Empire of Lies, so I think he might follow me for that. Wade Price is one of the Warhammer TV people. He's very famous for painting everything red. One fun thing is to clean model resin from resin with a toothbrush. Oh god, whenever I clean my models, my resin Forge World models, I always just got some warm soapy water and did it by hand. I wasn't going to get a friggin' toothbrush just to clean my resin. I'll be there all week. Okay, screw the pizza approach, this is faster. Painting white is not fun. There's a reason that my Lumineth, the only white on my Lumineth is their steeds and the edge highlighting of their robes. There's a reason I don't paint my Lumineth white. Oh, the Lumineth Rainbow paint scheme. Yeah, that was a lovely paint scheme. Admittedly, I thought it was an LGBT reference, which it could well have been, but a lot of people said it was a My Little Pony reference. I don't really know, and if it is that, I don't really care. It's not my thing. But that's your thing. It's your thing. I believe so. Build Admech with Metallica colours. Oh, what colours Metallica? Are they the orange ones? Yeah, I know there is a Forge World whose colours is orange. That might be Riser or Stygia's. That's Riser. Yeah, I couldn't remember whose Forge World colours was. Metallica. Yeah. Deathstrike is okay, but I like the Manticore. I hate the Manticore. I hate it because it spent most of the start of 8th edition blowing up my Tau. It was so unfair because he just camped it behind a building and you shoot over everything with a stupid Manticore tank and blew everything up with 4d3 shots a go. It was so annoying. At least the Wyvern has the niceness to be anti-infantry, not anti-friggin' everything. For this for fun, a tile is the Darkstrider, Pathfinders, Breachers, and Ghost Keels. Add some stealth suits to that, and you can use the Wall of Mirrors stratagem, which is a nice little thing. But I like the idea of a sneak up, close assault list. I do like that as a concept, led by Darkstrider. I think that's cool. You can even add Shadow Sun to that because, well, she's got a stealth battle suit, and stealth suits protect her. So yeah, I like that as a cool concept. Nearly there, nearly there, nearly there, nearly there. Are we there? I am working on a Sigmarite Dace, which is part of the Forbidden Power terrain set, not Azerite Ruins. started the stereotype of commanders and riptides. I mean, to be fair, I have commanders and a riptide, but that's because I play the 8. So, well, I sometimes play the 8. The 8s are also awful, so I don't always play them. But, right. Well, they were awful because they cost you 3 command points to take. I don't know if they're as bad now, but they were absolutely awful. Because I remember playing a game with them and they individual tower without buffs are just not as effective as you think they're supposed to be. And that's why the main gimmick is biggest gun you've got, buff it, blast, giant pile of infantry with triple tap, and oh, what's that? 1,000,000 shield drones. Yay, we're invincible. Right, I'm going to take a very short break because we've been going for about an hour and a half. So I'm going to get myself another drink, and then when we come back, I'm going to do the. I think I'm going to do the pale grey. Because if I do the Druchii Violet wash, that's it. I'm not. That's going to take like an hour to dry, and in that hour, well, what would I even do with myself? So I'm going to get myself another drink, and then we're going to tackle the other colour of stone. In the meantime, behave, chat, and I will see you in a minute or two. And we're back. Okay, nothing major happened. Someone left, that's more than fair enough. So, yeah, on to the next job. This is the part that worries me a little bit more because A, I own less of my Astronomican Grey paint because I didn't replace it, and also I can't replace it because I don't use Celestra Grey. Celestra Grey was awful for me. I kind of really hate it. It just split on me like immediately, and I don't like using it and stuff. But we are back on the second half. I think that'll mean it will go for about 3 hours total to about 9:30 UK. So we've got about an hour and a half or so to get this at least base coated. I won't get it all base coated because I've got lots of bits of gold and fire effects to pick out, but at least get the basics on, which should really set us up. So I'm going to be using Astronomican Grey, the old Citadel Foundation paint for this. I'm going to be doing the stand for the altar where my avatar is going to stand, and I'm going to do the pillars as well as the little stands for the braziers, for the little fire pits at the front, because I think they're more likely to be the elven bits as well as a mix of Hish and Ulgu. So these sort of areas are a bit more like the Hishian bits, because I want this to, as I say, Ulgish, so it's a mix of the two. The main challenge I'm worried about is washing them and getting the right tone for their wash, especially because, and also the other challenge is because this paint's very thick because it's old, getting into all the recesses is going to be fun, but I will make it work. I will manage. Well, I'm going to damn well try. I mean, I'm not in a computer chair. I haven't actually got a chair for my desk yet. I'm borrowing one of my dining room chairs, which is a little folding chair. That's all I'm sat on, really, at the moment. But yeah, I can imagine an actual wheeled gaming chair could be fun. But then again, if you keep your feet firmly enough planted on the floor, I might get around the problem. Do-do-do-do. The downside of the Death Striker Manticore is limited ammo. You mean their balancing factor? Imagine a Death Strike every turn. That would be ridiculous. And to be fair, with a Manticore, if the game's not over by by the time you fired all 4 shots, then most games of 40k are by the time you've got through all 4 shots of your Manticore. Most games, at least at the higher levels, don't seem to go much past turn 3, from my limited experience and understanding. So that's sort of the colour contrast we're going to end up with, where you've got these bright white Hishian pillars on top of Ulgurite style stone. And they'll have different sort of washes as well, so there'll be a purple wash on the grey of Ulgu and more of a bluish wash into the recesses of the Hish stone, just sort of further contrast the two. Because Elven architecture should generally, well, normally remain with that white, it's like pure white elven aesthetic. I do like that aesthetic, but I find it really difficult to paint, so I'm sort of balancing the two. Also because it means that I can have Malerian, Marathi and Teclis on the same board. Because at the moment, well, they can't go to each other's realms because they're the gods of their opposite realm. Right. So yeah, there you go. That's what we're going for. That's what we're working towards. And I can actually rest those on the actual dais itself, which will be useful for helping it dry, because I've not got any of this pale white to go on the dais. Though, admittedly, I might need to go back and do a second coat, because by watering down the paint a tiny bit to help it flow, it has made it a lot thinner, and that's usually not a particularly nice effect. So I might need to wait for that to dry and do a second coat later. Right, next one. Actually, someone just in my ear has mentioned the Firestrike servo turret, or whatever it's called. And actually noticed today they talked about like sort of things to do with your starter boxes, since they're on pre-order this weekend. And they sort of said that a lot of them contain additional missions for adding some of the kits. So like, there's a mission that will involve the Invader. There's a mission that will involve the Locust Heavy Destroyer. There's a mission that will involve the Doomstalker, and the Firestrike turret did come up in that list as well. So interesting that they've sort of given players a, oh, if you really don't know what to do next because this might be your first thing, here's sort of a logical progression from your stuff as sort of a next unit you might want, which is interesting. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's interesting. The Wyvern is going to give all boys a hard time. Yes, it's an anti-infantry artillery gun. What did you expect? The Wyvern's job is to give things like Orc boys a hard time. That's its thing. Okay, so that is pillar the second. Okay, pillar number 2. It's the other short one, isn't it? Yeah, that's the other short one. I might have to tidy up around it though. I've made a bit of a mess of some of it, so I might need to paint around it with the fang. That's the other reason I'm doing these first, actually, before the wash, because I'm going to probably have to tidy up. Come on, let's get this done. When I've done the altar, oh good grief, I'm not going to be done with the altar probably for like 2 or 3 streams. I'm still base coating at the moment, although I'll probably do the wash at the end of the stream and then leave it to dry for however long. In terms of where I'll do with the August project after that, I don't know, because I'm still working on my Lumina, so I'll probably go back to them and paint my... I've got my Dawn Riders Standard Bearer on the go, so I'll probably paint that next and just work on my Dawn Riders and my Orlan Wardens for a bit. Terrain wise, I think one of the things I'd like to do, that I've always liked, is the Storm Vault, but it doesn't really fit with this board, so I might get the Temple or something around the Storm Vault and just stay with the Forbidden Power terrain, because I really love the Forbidden Power terrain. But I don't know exactly what I would go with next. So are they supposed to sit on top? Hang on, just reminding myself of something. Are they, no, they're not supposed to sit on top. Okay, stand corrected. They're supposed to sit like that. Okay, it's just that leaves a bigger gap. That leaves a gap in the top stonework. Oh well, I suppose they must have designed it like that. Never mind. Carry on. Poking. Get some water. Team bit. And then on we go. Okay, this one needs to be going a lot faster at least. Didn't over water down the paint that time, so it's coming along quite nicely. Just gotta put a teensy bit more on. And then go very neatly if I can. Actually, why am I going neatly? I've already got to tidy up a couple of the other pillars, I might as well not go too neatly. Not sure if I'll stream this weekend. I might try and stream on Sunday, but I don't know. It depends how I'm going for time and other things. So I'm obviously still going to make 40k stories and get in my lesson planning and other regular content. So I can't promise when I'll stream next. But I think I might try and stream on Sunday evening if I can, or maybe Sunday afternoon. Get a slightly actually it'd be less Australia friendly, and actually it might even be less America friendly now that I think about it, because it would be like 3-4 o'clock rather than the end of the work day or the middle of the work or the start of the work day, and that's on a Sunday, so it'll be even less pleasant. I don't know. I'll have a think about it. I might try and stream at the weekend. We'll see how we go. I've got this lovely office space now, this desk. I might as well make the most of it as both a lesson planning resource space and also as a hobby space. There's a little bit of tidying up there to do. Not much going on there in chat at the moment, or unless my chat's bugged out, I don't know. But doesn't seem. It seems like chat said their piece. I've answered that about 10 minutes ago. So as I said a few minutes ago, my sort of aim with this, once this is done, I'll probably go back to my Lumineth for a bit, but terrain-wise I'll probably stay within the Storm Vault range of Forbidden Power terrain, because I do like that stuff. But I don't know if I'll get a full-on Storm Vault. Busy trying to use super glue on resin. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You can't really type if you're super gluing. It's a tricky enough job. I realised that at the moment I'm focusing on, I haven't really got anything to respond to, so it's kind of a bit quiet, and as much as I understand that happens sometimes, it's just back of my mind is conscious that you're not saying anything, Tactica. Okay, so you need to be moved backwards a bit. Come on. Okay, that's most of pillar 4, I think. Just got to finish tidying it up, getting all the edges. Yes, yes, yes. Boom. That was as smooth as it could probably go. Excellent. Plunk that down. That's number 4. Now on to the actual full pillars. This is the ones that are going to take a bit longer. And I've got to paint around the little torches, so I've got to paint around those as well. But this might take a little bit longer for these ones, but we're making good progress. Certainly taking no longer than the other greys did. And this is requiring probably like 2 coats half the time just to get the white to stick, because I'm having to water it down a little bit. What destruction army would people consider doing? Oh, that's an interesting question. I've actually considered that before. I think for me, I've always quite liked the Iron Jaws, possibly just because of the Gore Grunters, because they're big, stompy, chargy cavalry, and the Brutes and Ardboys, well, the Brutes in particular, are pretty cool models, and the Maw-Crusher's awesome. So I would probably go on Iron Jaws, but I did have a long time, there was a period before their release, and around their release, where I did think about going Gloomspite Gits, playing a Squig army. In fact, I did buy Zarbag's Gits just to practice painting goblins and squigs. But in the end, I don't know, something about them just didn't click for me at the time, or by the time I was ready to get around to them, well, an Elfin Adventure was winding down and I was getting ready to move and I had all sorts of other things going on, so I just never got around to it. I don't know. But yeah, probably Iron Jaws now, but there was a time where I did consider Gloomspite. That was my destruction army of choice. Well, would have been. But I think, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I'm an out-and-out order player. Ogres, yeah. I mean, between like the lead belchers, the iron blasters, and the beast claw stuff is really cool looking. So I can completely respect that as a build. Ogres never did it for me personally. I think it didn't help that one of my friends was already playing a beast claw, already has some beast claw. So we sort of operate in our friendship group by if someone's doing it, then no one else does it. As sort of an unwritten, unspoken rule. You don't get the same army as someone else unless theoretically that army is like Space Marines. It's generally we don't share armies. That's not to say we haven't had the same armies as each other at times. Like I know one of my friends has got Stormcast, but they play it very differently to how I do. I'm not the first person in our group to play Tau, but that's because I would have bought the Tau off someone else, but I didn't get that chance because they already sold it. But yeah, it's the sort of thing we would do. I know there's some streamers who I follow do like trivia questions just to chat, but I haven't really got anything really to offer aside from, you know, engagement. Oh god, pick a Titan, any Titan. I'm not really that fussed by the Titans and the Titanic scale stuff. Generally, they don't really hold anything particular for me. If I was to pick one, I do like the Phantom Titan, but there isn't one that sticks out to me. And I don't think there's a Gargant model either, or a Mega Gargant model. So I can't think of one, to be honest, that I would go for. If I had to pick a favourite Titan design, probably it would be the Reaver, because it's the first one I ever saw was the Reaver. In my first ever White Dwarf, they were showing off the new Forge World Reaver Titan options. the non-box one. There isn't actually a model for the side titans. They're just warlord. I don't think there is a. You've just earned the wrath for mentioning the word side titan, because there are certain people who played a lot of 30k and are not best pleased with side titans. Shall we say that politely and leave it there? I mean, they don't even have models yet. There's only, you'd have to just have a warlord and strap some psychers to it to make a side titan. There isn't a model yet. They're making one for Titanicus, I believe. But okay, that's pillar number 5. I think just about done. Yep, pillar number 5 is done. Okay, trivia question. See if I can throw out a trivia question. Oh, this one might tax people. No, I had one then. Which individual is the... Okay. Which mortal realm does not have a particularly associated god or avatar, divine entity, whatever you'd like? So, for example, Sigmar is the god of heavens, and so is associated with Azir. Which realm or realms do not have a god like that? In lore, not in model, in lore. So like I say, Sigmar is Azir, so Azir has Sigmar. Beast actually does have a god associated with it. That would be Gorka Morka. Gorka Morka, and Gur in general is very much tied to destruction. So, as far as I understand it, Gorka Morka is as near as the god of Gur. The all point, that's cheating. It's probably not wrong, but it's also kind of cheating. Give chat another minute to see if it can come up with any ideas, and then we'll go through it. And you're more than welcome to disagree with my answer. If you can come up with a counter argument, then by all means you can do that, but I'll give you what I think the answer is. Okay, so my answer to the which realm doesn't have an associated god, I have 2 answers. Oh, this was a mistake. I have 2. And they are Akshi, the realm of fire, and Shamon, the realm of metal. Because the realm of beasts, Gur, arguably has Gorka Morka. And I would argue that Gorka Morka is sort of the god of the savagery of Gur. Light has Tyrion and Teclis. Shadow has Malerion. Death has Nagash. And Heavens has Sigmar. And Life has Alariel. So I think it's Shamon and Akshi. Now you could make the argument that Grungni and Grimnir could be associated. Grungni with Shamon and Grimnir with Akshi. But one, Grimnir's dead. And while there was an incarnate of fire who was a slayer back in the end times, I wouldn't call Grimnir the god of Akshi, no matter how far I pushed to my luck. And Grungni for Shamon as the smith god, again, there's an argument there, but I don't think so. But you are welcome to disagree and tell me why you think I'm wrong. But that's my answer. Volcatrix was a god beast, not a god. Oh, Ignax. Oh god. I think that was like the mother. No, that's Dracothian was the father of dragons. I can't remember who Ignax was. Top of my head. Oh, I've made a horrible mistake. Yeah, there was Ignax's scales, that super defense fire relic that everybody used when they weren't using the thermal rider cloak or the ethereal amulet anyway. Just painting into the bits of this now, this sort of crypt-like thing, which is going to form the basis of the actual altar. Oh, done. Okay, so Ignax was a child of Volcatrix. Okay. Yeah, so I don't think Akshi and Shamon have particular gods. Certainly not in the same way that Hish and Shyish do with Tyrion and Teclis and Nagash, respectively. But again, Grungni and Grimnir is an argument, or a possible option. Okay, if we as a community could introduce a new race or faction for Sigmar or 40k, okay. I would say chat take the wheel, but it's kind of been sat there for a minute now, so I guess it's up to me. Well, we know from Psychic Awakening 9 that they seem to be suggesting the squats as an idea, and I would absolutely be open to the return of the squats as a race, as a new faction. So yeah, I'd be down with squats. For Sigmar, well, I know there's been a long talk for a long time about the Soulblight Vampires and making them a unique faction, with particularly Manfred, well maybe not Manfred, but the Blood Knights and the like, and I would absolutely be down for that as a faction. In terms of coming up with something new, I wouldn't really know where to start, because we know Malerian's got shadow demons, we know Tyrion's got his own armies. We've seen most of humanity tied up in cities, so I'm not really 100% sure. Do the Harlequins have an avatar of Chegarak? No, not particularly, though many of their troop masters in their performances, it's usually I think a troop master who will play the role of Chegarak when necessary. Not the Solitaire, they are the ones who play the role of Slanesh, which is why they're so feared. But yeah, cursed, feared, yeah, all that. Solitaires are not particularly liked, but they are respected for having, you know, put their soul at massive risk by performing in the role of Slaanesh whenever they tell the tale of the fall. But yeah, I think the nearest like they get is that their troop masters play the role. They don't have an avatar in the same way that like there's the Yin Khan or the Khaine avatar for the craft welders. Okay, so that's the sort of crypt altar. My avatar of Khaine model is going to sit on top of that at the back of the altar itself. In fact, actually, I've got this slightly the wrong way around. Two Kings related faction, some sort of non-death, non-Nagash aligned death faction. Yeah and no, because it's very much suggested, if not confirmed, that Nagash has destroyed or consumed the other underworlds and death gods that there were, because there were other death gods. So it's sort of implied that Nagash has consumed them all. But I would not be opposed to some sort of rebellious faction that do not serve Nagash. But then, of course, they've got to be careful about, you know, well, they'll not be careful, they've got to be aware that everyone's going to assume, oh, this is just knockoff Cetra, because Cetra's dead. So they've just got to be careful about that, I suppose. Oh, this actually works really well. Without gluing it down, I can't really show you this, but it's looking good. Not feeling well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling back to 100% soon, and I hope that whatever is bothering you is nothing too serious, long form, certainly, especially in the current climate. I've spent like £2,000 getting this flat furnished. You don't have a leg to stand on with me. Oh dear. Box games. You're welcome, no problem. Good luck is all I can really say to that. If it is that, then I can just, well, I've had it probably. Obviously, well, I had it at a time, I think I had it at a time where we weren't testing in the UK because we didn't have the capacity. So I can't really comment on whether I did have it, but it felt like I had it. And I'm here now. So that, I don't know if that's of any reassurance, probably not. But this climate, what I take as a fan. It's nearly 9 o'clock and it's still stinking hot. How long do you think it would take to paint the new Silent King model? I think that will depend on depends on the level you want to paint it to. But if you put it into sub-assemblies, I would probably be able to paint it in a few sessions. I paint in a sort of weird, like, some short bursts of lots of progress. So it would probably take me a week, but I probably only spend 6 to 10 hours, maybe 12 tops, on it. I can't really say, but everyone paints at a different style and at a different speed. So in terms of the tricky bits, I'm not sure. It depends on how complex you want the scheme to be. Though, obviously, painting the underside and having to get it all perfectly detailed because you'll see it under the lightning will be annoying, I suspect. The Catan itself, depending on what you want to do with it. Because he doesn't look overly complex in terms of design. It's just there's a lot of parts that, and because it's a character model, you want to do it absolutely right. So that could take a long time, but I wouldn't want to put a time frame on it. There was one rumour engine picture of a halberd. Oh yeah, I saw this. Some people were saying that it could be dark elves. Some people were saying it could be cities. Some people were saying it could be Skaven because it looked quite rusted and chipped. It could even be chaos, given its sort of rusted and sort of chipped look, it not being perfectly pristine. I wouldn't like to say for sure, but it's good to see that there'll be more Sigmar. I don't think it'll be cities because they're only a year or so old, and if they were gonna update them, then they'd have to give them a new book or redo, like, say, state troops, but they looked very chipped and damaged for state troops. So I'm more in leaning toward chaos, maybe like a new Chaos Marauder kit or something, or a warband of some description, but I don't know, we'll see. Going heavy metal, it would take months. Well, that again depends. If you're an heavy metal painter, they probably painted it quite quickly. But by their standards, maybe it was quite a long time. It depends on sort of their... Again, it depends on your standards. Okay, that's pillar number 6 done. Sorry, I'm getting very focused on getting this done now because I'm nearly there. And then once this is done, this base coat, I'm going to do the Druchii Violet wash for the rest of it, for the dark grey. And that will probably be the point at which we call the stream. Because I've got to get these 2 pillars and I want to try and get these 2 little fire braziers done as well if I can. So that's sort of what I'm working toward to end the stream. Get through these 2 pillars, that brazier, and then the Druchii Violet wash is where I think I'll leave it for tonight. And that'll mean that we can do the detailing on the next stream. We can do the details. We'll do the wash on these white pillars. And get them sort of a bit more toned down. Just work our way through it really, and then at some point we can also work on the avatar, and then we'll probably leave it once it's assembled. We'll finish the assembly, and then it'll just be a case of I'll come back to it when the Blood Coven come out, because I don't want to sacrifice a Slaughter Queen or a Hag Queen to it if I can. Especially not a Hag Queen, because Hag Queens are really, really good. Come on. To be fair, you say that you're not that bad and you're amazed about that. Well, I have to say, I can see the difference in my painting from doing a project every year. So over lockdown, like the proper lockdown that we had in the UK around March to June, I repainted my Cadre Fireblade, my tower. I actually reconverted and repainted it. And the difference in my painting then, which was 4 years ago, to now was astounding. Like the sheer difference it had made in my painting, just from doing my Tau for a year, then doing a town called Malice, and then particularly I think doing an Elfin Adventure again, and really refining my techniques of precision painting and all that. I think that really did affect my ability to paint in a good way. So honestly, just doing painting a lot, where you can, or doing what you can, and keeping your skills sharp and honing them, it can genuinely make a massive difference to your painting ability. Just through doing, you start to notice details, trying things that you haven't done before, experimenting with new colours. Genuinely, you can improve so much just by doing. And that's what I would recommend to any painter wanting to improve, is not, oh, go watch a million tutorials. Though tutorials will help you, absolutely you should go and watch tutorials if you want to learn a technique or how to do certain things. But if you want to just generally improve, the best practice is practice. Just do. Just paint your models if you can. You might paint the first 50 of them terribly, but as you keep doing them and keep doing them and keep doing them, you will get better and better and better. You'll start noticing, oh hey, I missed that detail. And particularly if you go and look back at an old model and say, okay, what did I miss? So let's go and fix that. That can genuinely be really helpful. So that would sort of be my advice. Not that you should really listen to me, because I'm A, not that good of a painter, and B, some person on the internet. But just an option. Like, this is the first terrain project I've done, so I've got to practice at painting large surfaces efficiently and that sort of thing. So this is the first time I've really done proper large surfaces, because for a long time, like, the biggest stuff I'd done was, I did my Stomper, but I did it when I was 14, and so I was awful. And my Battle Wagon didn't have many flat surfaces. I didn't buy anything huge for my Stormcast. Marathi was a different challenge because she was a character model. This is my first proper big terrain piece, my first big project almost as an individual model. So this is testing me in different ways. Like, can I balance up two paint schemes at once whilst maintaining quality and painting a large model? So there's a lot of different skills that I'm practicing through doing just this altar. Okay, that's pillar number 7, I think. I'm going to quickly do a whizzy woo, just check it out, missed a bit. Just getting into the recesses with this extra large brush is proving a bit challenging, but got there in the end, so there we go. That's pillar number 7. Okay, shouldn't have put a cushion there, now I'm really warm. buzz off cushion. And if you want to see like what other people are doing and like look at other hobbyists' work and ask them for some advice, like you can always join our channel Discord. We've got a painting and conversion sort of tab, and we've got some really talented hobbyists in there who share their work quite regularly, and you can always ask them about their techniques or ideas for conversions. Honestly, it's just another thing you can do, and sometimes as much as you can practice on your own, you might not realise what you're doing wrong. So having people you can communicate with and get feedback from is another useful idea, getting feedback. But of course, if you are anxious about showing your own work and you're a bit private about it because you think it sucks, then that's also fair. But you can easily just just ask on the forums like, hey, how did you do X? Or what would you recommend for Y? And you'll get help generally. Not necessarily from me because I suck, but from people who know what they're doing. To be fair, I think most people who are here are already part of the server, because I know we haven't got a huge turnout. But if you're not, then the link's in chat. You're welcome to come along and join if that's something that interests you. We've got plenty going on. Oh yeah, Hobby Clinic's a thing. I'd forgotten Hobby Clinic was a thing. Yeah, someone just pointed out to me in my ear the Hobby Clinic streams that Warhammer TV do. That might be a good anonymous way to ask for advice without showing anything off. There's plenty of options for learning the techniques and also sharing ideas or just asking for help, because there's no shame in asking for help. There really isn't. I've asked for a bit of advice on what wash I should do for the white on these pillars, because I wasn't sure quite how to do it and what degree I should do it to. But that will come up on the next stream, because I think that's when I'll do them. Yeah, asking at your local GW, that's a great suggestion as well. Asking your local GW community, staff manager, if you know them, then that's a great way to do it. But obviously, A, not everyone has a store, and B, lockdown. So there's plenty of options out there. It's another good one, a good suggestion. I swear this has taken longer than painting the grey of the two different tones of grey on the flipping temple. This has taken longer to just paint this white, but then white's a pain to paint, so maybe I shouldn't be too shocked. It's not even dry brushing, it's just straight up painting. Okay, come on. I feel like I'm going to have to go back and do a few bits on this one, but we're nearly there. And that is pillar number, I think. Just want to go around the base of it. What range would you like to see done first? Guard or craft worlds? Craft worlds, because they need it more. Some of the guard range is out of date, yes. But they're at least like just basic, guardians, aspect warriors, the Phoenix Lords. There's so much in the craft worlds range that needs to redo. Guard could do with some updates, like some more infantry options that aren't just Khaine and Tactica, absolutely. But I think that Eldari need it way more. Right, that's pillar number 8. And so we're almost. Now, I don't know Sigmar, but the goblins in 40k and old fantasy Blood Bowl seem stupid crazy. Yeah, that's the thing. Gobbos in general are not the most safety conscious and are very backstabby. Granted, we don't have Doom Divers anymore, but we do have Mangler Squigs, so it's not entirely untrue. God, my hand's going stiff from doing this. So I'm going to make that as a silver bowl gold bowl with silver trim, silver caging. So this shouldn't take too long, I think, to do this segment. These are only small, as long as I get them right. Cool. These are like, are they? No, they're not gargoyles, never mind. Oh. I don't know if the range is aging badly, it's just that the newer stuff is so insane that it's making the actually not too bad old stuff look awful by association. I think that's certainly true for some of it. I don't know about all of it, but certainly some of it I feel like is actually good sculpts that are just being made to look bad by the new stuff that's just the nuts. I'd never definitely out there in terms of ambition, like the Eidolon, the Leviathan. Though I would say the new Necrons are certainly going out on a limb as well. Not the same limb, but a limb. Right. Like how the Blood Bowl looks look quite good compared to 40k was. Yeah, exactly. Like I like the old Orc Boys kit as a nice kit. I've worked on it. I've got 150 of the Blighters, though some of them are from 2nd edition. And the kit itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But like you compare it to the newer stuff like the Knobs kit, the Storm Boys kit, the Blood Bowl stuff, the Orc Brutes from Age of Sigmar, the Savage Orcs, they just by comparison look a bit naff, and so we think they're outdated and terrible when realistically they're not terrible, they're just old and have aged fine until the new stuff came along and looked absolutely gorgeous. Though I suppose that is the definition of not age. It's not that it hasn't aged well, it's just that the new stuff is so much better that they look bad. Yeah, but would you say that RTB01, the original Rogue Trader frame, has aged poorly from the 1980s? Like, absolutely, there are models that have aged poorly. I'm looking at the old Ragnar Blackmane and the old Phoenix Lords and just, But there are some models, like the third edition Gazkul. As much as I do like the new Gazkul, the only problem with the old Gazkul is that he was now too small. His actual design and the sculpt itself, there was nothing wrong with. He was just a bit small because they'd upsized the miniatures range. So I wouldn't say that, despite the fact that the models from like 2007, 2008, it's still aged fine. Okay, let's tidy this second fire pit pillar up. Right, we're almost there now. Okay, so that is the white, the pale grey done. I'm just leaving the braziers upside down for a moment to let them dry without marking the dark grey, because I'm not sticking them down at this particular junction. But we are nearly there. This cup's going to need a proper clean from doing that. Okay, so now that I've got the white, no I haven't, I was going to say I've got the white paint out of this, I haven't. Oh, that's not gone well. That's not gone well in the slightest. Overzealous stirring of paint water, not fun. You do as I'm live, right? Oh, you were snarking me. Okay, well that's at least cleaned it. Drink. Okay, so let's just turn those the other way around because they should be dry now. So I'm gonna take a photo of this and I'm gonna put it on Twitter / Discord when the time comes, and then I'm gonna do the wash. Now obviously this is not complete, of course, because I haven't done all the detailing and I haven't done any of that, but I do want to pop that somewhere just so that we can track the progress of what we've done this stream. Boom. There we go. I'll pop that on Twitter and in the Discord server a little bit later. For now I really have fun because we are on to Druchii Violet. I'm going to be doing a wash of all the dark grey, but before we get there, we're not on to Druchii Violet. I have to tidy up all around the base of the pillars with the fan. So I'm just going to get a slightly smaller brush, get my small base brush for that, I think. There we go. And tidy those up. Shouldn't take me more than 5 minutes, hopefully. And then we'll be nearly ready to finish off everything here. God, this brush feels tiny in my hand compared to what I've been using for the last 3 hours. Oh god, yeah, hang on. Half the time I end up humming or singing a tune to myself, I don't actually use a real tune, I make it up, I sort of half make it up, half sample. Yeah, that was a mistake, I won't do that again. One. This one isn't too bad. Chuffing it. Okay. Okay, trivia question. Since we're going to be getting on to washes in a minute, what is the name, without looking it up if you can, of the yellow Citadel shade? end up gluing the pillars down last, just because if I put the older stuff on first, then I can actually evenly space the pillars out. So I want to get symmetry. It's a shame there's only 8 pillars because Hish's like sacred number, if you like, is 10, and Orgu's is 11 because it's the 10 paradises, and no, it's a 13. Is it 11 or 13 for Orgu? I think it's 11. The 11 kingdoms. Yeah, as far as I remember, it is Cassandori yellow. That is the yellow Citadel shade paint. Okay. Yeah, it's not a perfect covering of the Fang over the Mechanicus Standard, but that's fine, honestly. I just tied it up a little bit, but I don't need perfect coverage because, well, it's grey and blue-grey for the row of shadow. It's a mix, so that's fine. Right, now we can actually get on to the Druky Violet. Okay, so I've just had one into my ear. What do people think for this one? What is, including sprays, what is the most expensive Citadel paint? Sprays are included. What do you think on that one while I get on with this Druky Violet? Of course you know what the answer is, you asked it. Okay, so that's them all off of there. Altar, fire pit the first, fire pit the second. Stay on, yes. Okay. And if I was to throw a guess out, because I was asked this, my guess would be it would be something like Retributor Armor Spray. I was right. Retributor Armor Spray, £18 a can. Gee whiz. So 2 cans of Retributor Armor or 10 Witch Elves. That's come out. That's come out weird. Whoa, what the? Okay, that's coming out very odd. I'm going to use a different brush because It's interesting you say that, 'cause there's a conversation going on in my ear about Rune Lord Brass, Retributor Armour, Lead Belcher, and the need for undercoats, whereas I've done my gold and silver as Lead Belcher and Retributor Armour for years, and granted you're talking about the sprays rather than the actual paints. Yeah, because I've never found the need to undercoat for the paints. I'm sure it's beneficial, but I've never felt the need. Okay, so whatever was going on with the brush, it seems to have resolved itself. So I was getting almost like pink bubbles for a minute there. Top of the Blood God's a technical, not a spray, isn't it? Oh, sorry, just because I bought Blood for the Blood God yesterday to help me with painting this terrain piece. So I've got the technical paint Blood for the Blood God on the brain, not sacrificing stuff. We have fun conversations in my ear while I stream. So that's sort of so this is the sort of colour that we're going to end up with for the terrain. So you can see around the outside is the fang, but in the middle is that Druchii violet wash. It just adds that sort of shadowy purple tone of Ulgu to the grey. So that's sort of what I'm going for. Granted, this is going to be very spotty and streaky because I've done it with a brush, but well, there's certain things you just can't avoid aside from taking 17 hours on a wash. Anyway, on we go. So I remember one of the first streams I did, I got a couple of my friends from physics on the stream. That was an interesting experience. That was like 3 years ago now. Well, certainly going toward 3 years ago. Right. On we go. Apologies that I'm sort of doing this at an awkward angle for you to see, but unlike when I was doing it earlier with the base coating and the pizza spin, this stuff runs a lot more because it's a shade rather than a paint. So I've just got to get it where it's at an angle that I can see it rather than anything else. And also I have to keep opening the bloody pot of Druchii violets every single time because it won't stay open. I don't want to click it back over its thing because if I do that, then they never shut properly afterwards. So, and with a wash paint, it'll just go everywhere, and I don't want that. I quite like my carpet the way it is, not stained purple. This is going surprisingly smoothly. I might be able to go back to the pizza method. There we go. It's there. Now you can get a better look. It's really shiny when you actually put a fresh wash on. The surface looks really shiny. Okay, I can't do that for long though, because as soon as the paint runs out, I have to reload it. Yeah, okay, just going to do this last outer layer, this outer step I should say, and then that will be the main base itself done. I'll just have to do the pillar edges, and then I can put this back together for the end of the stream, which will be good. Oh god, it's gone 9:30. Yeah, okay, we've been going over 3 hours now, so I definitely am just going to do this wash and then I'm going to call it a night. I don't mind going long with this because my voice isn't too bad. I've had food, and there was, aside from if I'd have stopped before the Druki Violet, but because it takes so long, if I'd have done it to start the next stream, then I wouldn't have got any more painting done because I've just been waiting for the friggin' wash to dry for the next hour. So doing it now made more sense to me, but we'll keep it under 4 hours, which will allow me to publish it right away. So I might leave it unlisted for a short while. Okay, that's the dace. So there you go. That's the dace fully washed up with its Druki Violet. I'm going to do all the detailing. So like this thing here, these two comets, they're going to be in a mix of silver and gold. I'm going to do this outer circle here. There's a circle around the outside. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that in gold as well. But there's not a lot of detailing on the top of here unless I want to start painting the individual moons and stars and suns. And no. No. So I'm going to pop that down there, out of the way. And now I'm just going to do the pillar bases. Okay, one. Oh, yeah, they spilled a bit there. That would have been a problem. I imagine I'm not going to be going much more than probably 10 to 15 minutes. I don't know if I don't think I'm going to get to 10 o'clock with this, but see quite how long this takes me to just finish off. I start to see why people who do painting streams get guests on. And if I had this ability in my software to do so, I absolutely would. Just because when you're focusing on the painting, there's no one to interact with. It's harder to interact with chat and have just there's a lot of dead air. I realise I'm not talking while I'm focusing, and that's causing a lot of dead air, which probably for those people who are sort of popping in, seeing what's going on and leaving is probably very, very boring. But that's just No. No. I'll explain when we're done here, but suffice to say that OBS on Mac basically is unable to record anything that is internal computer audio unless you install a plugin or a separate workaround. It's very, very picky and less optimized for some of the things it wants to do compared to the Windows version. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to keep this PC. I've had this PC now since start of second year of uni, so it's had second year, third year, fourth year. It's had 4 years of service, and it's done me great. But I don't know if I will keep the computer for more than maybe another year or two. I'll see how I'm going with work, I think. I might switch over to a Windows laptop at some point. It's difficult because the Apple ecosystem, the AirDrop connectivity that I've got is great, and it just allows me to move files around really nicely, and it's lovely. But for an actual YouTuber setup, Mac is not optimized for anything complex beyond the basics of recording and uploading. It certainly can't do most of the features of Windows. So I wouldn't go over to a full rig. I think going over to a full rig would be a waste of time and money for what I need it to do, but I think there's certainly an argument for changing over to Windows from Mac OS the next time I change my computer, which probably will be in a couple of years. Well, I had a Windows tablet PC hybrid for my for a couple of years, but that was even worse because it didn't have an editor. It barely had a photo editor. It didn't have a video editor, and the one I had managed to get installed on it, then magically uninstalled itself. So that was useless. So it was when I switched over to Mac. When we got our Macs, me and my brother for second year uni, that was when I really actually was able to step up my content game. But that only gets you so far before eventually you hit the wall of your own technology without installing plugins and all that. To be honest, the trivia questions, I actually borrowed that off another streamer. It's not a Warhammer streamer I borrowed it off, but I did borrow that off another streamer, so I can't take any credit for originality on coming up with the idea of trivia questions. I borrowed it. When I say borrowed, I mean wholesale stole. Alright, I've got three more to do, and then we'll be ready to wrap up for the night. So if you have any final questions, suggestions, or requests or ideas that you want to discuss in chat, now is the time. I know there's a few people who've said a lot. There's a few people who've just been sort of sitting around and watching or had it on the background, which is totally fair. But if you've got anything you want to say, you've got about 5 or 10 minutes before the stream wraps up as I just finish off all this stuff and then go and give my voice a break because I've been talking for over the last 3 hours. I started at 6:30, but I started a little early because sort of I'm working to Podcasters time because that's sort of around the time that Podcasters is filmed. And it also allowed me to do what I've done, which is go a bit later rather than start at 8 and not be done till midnight, which would just be really unfriendly. Because if I'd have started at like 8 o'clock, it would be just gone 10 past, quarter past 11 now in the UK, which for me is much less friendly, and for the viewers also. I know it's a Friday night, but still. I cannot spoil who the next guest is for Podcasters. It's not that it's a huge, like, massive scandal of all that stuff of who it's going to be. It's just we generally don't spoil things ahead of time unless we get a Black Library author. If we get Black Library, then we'd say in advance to allow questions to come in. Otherwise, we make it a habit of not revealing the guest because, you know, makes the release on Wednesday a bit more interesting. Okay, 7, and last of all, number 8. I wouldn't say specifically the pride of Lionel Johnson was the reason for the Fallen. You could argue that it was the bitterness within Luther and jealousy. You could argue that Lion was a bit imperceptive as to what was going on because he sent Luther away, which was probably not a smart move, and left Caliban alone, but he trusted Luther. So why wouldn't he do that? But so I don't think Lion's pride was the reason, but I wouldn't want to say for sure what it was if we're going to put any of it on Lion at all, as opposed to Luther and the Chaos Gods. Right, that is 8. That is all of the pillars done. That is all of the Ulgu style stone done. It's only taken me, well, that stone's probably taken me about 2 hours. Sprinkle in the Hishian white stone as well, and you get a lot done, but we've made some really good progress on that. As I said, I will put a photo up on Twitter and in the Discord server if people want to have a look at the progress so far. And in our next stream, which I'm thinking I might do on Sunday, a similar sort of time, maybe slightly earlier, maybe slightly later. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'll announce that ahead of time on Twitter, and I'll try and do a community post as well to let you know that we're going to be streaming. And we will continue working on that. I think we'll either have a go at the Hishian stone and get that washed down and highlighted, or we'll start working on the details of the stone for the gold trim for the Ulgu stone, and then start adding the details like the fire effects, the other metallics, and that. I think we'll probably need 2 more streams to finish it off. One to do the rest of the Hishian stone and start working on the details, and then one to finish those details off, and maybe we'll get onto the avatar as well, which should then roughly finish it off up to the point of getting the Blood Coven. Actually, that's reminded me to have a look at the Blood Coven just before I wrap up. I'm going to go and have a look at those models. I think it's More Vale's Blood Coven. No, is it Morgwale? Morgwaith. Not Morvale, Morgwaith. So yeah, there is a green browser. So what have I got? So I've got a Sister of Slaughter. I've got 2 Witch Elves. They'll make great guards. There can be a Melisai lurking in the wings. And then the Sister of Slaughter, I'm not sure where she would fit best. Maybe on top of one of the pillars, like leaping down off the top of one of the pillars. That could be interesting. But yeah, that's certainly going to work by having guardians and sort of a heavy at the back with the Bloodstalker. I think, yeah, they'll work really, really well for my stuff. Right, so that's going to be the stream. That's going to be that. So thank you very much, everyone who's watched. I know that we've had, I think at peak we had, what do we have? What do we have at peak? I'll find out afterwards. We've had 11 to 12 concurrent viewers throughout the stream. There's been people around throughout, which has been good to see. I hope that you found this enjoyable. I hope it hasn't been too boring just watching and listening to me paint whilst I've been getting on with all that. But that's the start of a really productive start to that project for painting, and I look forward to finishing it over the next couple of streams. Probably, as I say, I'll do one on Sunday, and then I might try and do one on Wednesday again next week, because that's a non-podcast Wednesday, because obviously I don't want to clash too much with the release of Depths Podcastus either, which is the other Wednesday. So I might stream Sunday and then Wednesday, and then maybe Saturday. I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do my streams over the next couple of weeks, but we will keep, of course, to the bi-weekly Friday streams at a minimum, and we will keep working on this altar of Khaine. Plenty there to get on with. But thank you very much either way. This has been Tactica Imperialis. I do hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you very much for watching. Join the Discord if you are interested, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Good night.